Right, hello, welcome back to the channel. Now I am going to do a road trip. This is a family holiday. We haven't been on holiday for a while, and I've always thought about doing a road trip around the UK. And back in January, we got as a family a new car. It's a Fiat 500e. I've made a few videos about it, and I really want to make a lot of videos about it because it's a really interesting car. It's a very small car by today's standards, although by historical standards it's quite big. But it's a small four-seater hatchback, a little bit bigger than the old Fiat 500 from 2007, but it's only a little bit bigger, more the size of a Punto perhaps. But anyway, it's electric and it seats 4 people, and it's what most people would consider pretty impractical for doing a long journey in. So I want to do a journey all around the UK in it because it's going to be a bit different. I want to challenge some assumptions people make about cars and electric cars. Now I do have a large petrol estate car, a Passat V6. It's 23 years old, and that means that it's not allowed in some of the low emission zones, and it's also just a bit old. When I drive it, I find I'm constantly thinking, I like this car, but I would rather be in my electric car, just because the electric car is quicker and nicer to drive, but obviously it's 23 years newer. Where am I going to go? Well, I'm going to go all around the Great Britain mainland. So let's have a look at the stops I've got. I want to stop at Stonehenge, Cardiff, Aberystwyth, Manchester, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Newcastle, probably Cambridge, and then back down into Kent. The question I always get when I talk about electric cars is people go, well, what happens if I need to go to Scotland in it? Or I suppose if they live in Scotland, what would happen if I needed to go to England? How do you do that? Well, this video series that I'm going to be making will explain whether that's doable or not, because the Fiat 500 is not a family car. It's a small hatchback, and it's not a long distance car. It's got a maximum 200-mile range. In the real world, on the motorway, you'd be lucky to get 150 miles. Now, obviously, Scotland to England is a lot more than 150 miles, so we'll have to stop to charge now and again. It's also, you know, I see people going away and they all have big SUVs and they feel like you have to have a massive car when you've got kids. 4 of us can fit really comfortably in the Fiat. So, and this might be an absolute disaster, in which case it will make a great video, but I suspect it will go fairly well. It's also going to be interesting to see what the state of public charging is like all across the UK. So we're going to have English, Welsh and Scottish chargers. Unfortunately, I've got to keep to the mainland. So these are my stops, and I'm going to show you how to use this app. It's called a Better Route Planner, and it's really interesting because you can play around with different types of journey in your EV. So I've got my stops put in here. I'm going to select my vehicle. So I'm going to go for Fiat 500e, and it's the 42 kilowatt hour version. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to start off with the full charge. And this is going to take a long time, so it's going to think about this. Now, whilst it thinks about all the stops, it's going to take into account the traffic at the moment, the wind, the temperature, all of those sort of things. And it's going to calculate where I need to stop and for how long. But actually, this is going to be wrong, because the other piece of the puzzle is that we're going to stay overnight in several places. We're going to stop off at places to do stuff, and I want to be charging when I'm stopped and doing something else. I don't want to be sat around all the time waiting for the car to charge, but I don't know if you've ever been on a journey with kids. They always need to go to the loo, you always want to stop for food, and obviously we're going to stop in hotels, and we're going to stop sightseeing. So the idea is to spend as little time as possible waiting around for chargers. But anyway, it's done some calculations now, and this gives you a breakdown of the route. So if I was to do it sort of non-stop, I just had to go end to end, but go through those places. I would set off from Kent with 100% charge. I'd have to stop at Cobham for 12 minutes. Then Solstice Park, which I think is very near Stonehenge, for 24 minutes. Newport, Tesla for 37 minutes. Aberystwyth, Tesla for 20. Wrexham for 17. Manchester for 15. M6 for 20. Gretna Green for 25. Polmardy, which is very near Glasgow, 13 minutes. Outside Edinburgh for 34 minutes. Wellington Street, way back. Instavolt 22. Shell Recharge 25. Shell Recharge 13. And Harlow Gate, just outside of London, for 25 minutes, then back to Kent. So if I was going to do that, I would spend actually 5 hours charging, which over a sort of 28-hour journey isn't too bad. But I'm hoping I can actually cut those stops pretty much in half by arranging my overnight stays to have a charge overnight. So I can do that using ZapMap. Let's have a look at ZapMap. ZapMap is an independent map with all the charges in the UK. And we can just have a look. So say I want to stop in Cardiff. I can zoom in on ZapMap here. In the St David's Centre, there were 6 pod points, and it's quite good because you can go in and you can see information about them, whether they've been reported as working. And this one says it's unknown status, so when I go there I can see whether it works or not. And then there's also some feedback about people who've charged and whether they work or not. Generally I find these a little bit negative because people only really report the ones that don't work. They don't really report a charge that does work. But ZapMap's a really good resource. But it doesn't really cover payment very well. And they do have a payment thing, but it's not that great. What I would recommend for payment is Octopus Electroverse, and I will put in a referral link because you'll get £5 credit if you sign up. And Octopus is just a great company, and their Electroverse card is fantastic. You can use it almost anywhere, and the app works on lots of other chargers as well. So you can go down. I know it won't have that PodPoint charger because PodPoint are a slightly odd company. They don't work in the same sort of way. You can go down, you can click on a charger, and you can see in real time whether someone's using it, how much it's going to cost, and whether it takes the RFID card. So I've actually got some RFID cards for the journey, which I'll show you now. I've got the Octopus card, which works on like 90% of all chargers. Instavolt are not affiliated with Octopus. They're a good network. You get a lot of them in McDonald's and stuff, so that's quite nice. You can stop for something to eat and charge at the same time. They've got their own card. Now, Elli are an interesting charge network because they are actually owned by Volkswagen, and this is part of the emission scandal thing. And they have a really amazing deal where you can sign up. You do pay a subscription, but you get very, very, very cheap charging at Ionity. And Ionity is owned by it's a charge network, very fast charge network, in sort of service stations on the motorways. They're very fast. They're generally quite expensive, and they're owned by like Mercedes and BMW and VW and I think one other big car maker. But with Elli, you can get a subscription to Elli, and it will bring the Ionity price down to pretty much what you pay at home for electricity. But I think it is a fair amount per month. But good if you do a lot of miles in a non-Tesla. And finally, I've got the Shell Recharge card, which you don't really need if you've got the Octopus one, but you might have a charger that's just a bit funny. And we've got one near me that's just opened, and that will only take this card and isn't on Octopus yet. But really, the Octopus card is the only one that you really need. That will get you so much. I see if you've got an EV or you're thinking about getting one, you've not got the Octopus card, you've just got to get it. Please use my link. We'll both get £5, and it really makes your life so easy. It's just so easy to fill up, with electricity. It's just great. It's much easier than paying for petrol. It just makes the whole experience so seamless. With my car, you just tap the card on the charger, plug the car in, wait for it to charge, and then just unplug the charger. You only have to do one bit of payment. You get an invoice at the end of the month, or it goes on your Octopus electricity bill. So that's great. So that's my plan. I'm going to go around the UK. It's going to be approximately 2,000 kilometres. So yeah, 2,000 kilometres in a small electric car, setting off next week. So please do subscribe to the channel if you want to see more updates on my road trip. It's going to be pretty interesting, I think, because I'm going to make a video about this next, but the charging situation in Scotland seems to be rubbish in the big cities. So far, I've been all over the place in my electric car, and I had no trouble charging. A couple of little glitches, but it's been great. No real issues, no real waiting around. Done 11,000 miles in it so far. It's been superb, but I am in the south of England, and I think we are a little bit spoilt for chargers down here, so I'll be interested to see what the situation's like as we go further north. So, yep, please tune in. I'm going to do pretty much real-time vlogging of the journey. Warts and all, you'll see all the things that go wrong and all the things that go right. Please do put your comments below about how you think I'm going to get on. Yeah, predictions, what you think problems I'll run into, whether you think it's a sensible idea or not, and whether you do it or not. Please let me know, because I am interested. And also, why am I doing it in the electric car? Primary reason, I do want a bit of adventure. You know, I could get a diesel car and I could probably do it on 2 tanks of petrol. But that would mean driving a diesel car 2,000 kilometres, which I don't want to do. So, yeah, tune in for more. Thank you.